Come on, people now, smile on your brother. Everybody get together, try to love one another right now. Right now, right now.
Great job. Me in welcoming virtually our contract minister, Reverend Don Rollins, who will do the story for all ages today.
It appears I was muted. My bad, folks. If we haven't met before, my name is Don Rollins. I serve the congregation as contract minister, and I'm glad to be with you even at a distance. As I said before, I'm muting. This is a tough service. It is tough for you. It's tough for me. It's tough for our denomination. It is tough for friends of liberty and kindness in a lot of places. So I want to talk about that a little bit as we go along. But I also want to do the work before us, and that is how we're doing with our shared ministry and how we move through even times like this. To save some time, I'm not going to show you the illustrations that go with this story for all ages. Just know that the cover might say a few things about some of our preferences when it comes to, yeah. So that is the cover of the book. It is Grace for President is True. That is Kelly DePusio who wrote this. So I'm just going to read, folks. One Monday morning in September, Ms. Barrington rolled out a big poster with all of the president's pictures on it. Grace Campbell could not believe her eyes. Where are the girls? That is a very good question, said Ms. Barrington. The truth is, our country has never had a woman president. No woman president ever? Grace asked. No, I'm afraid not, said Ms. Barrington. Grace sat at her desk and stewed. No women. Who'd ever heard of such a crazy thing? Finally, she raised her hand. Yes, Grace. I've been thinking it over, and I'd like to be president. Well, I think, excuse me. Because of the platform, folks, I have no idea what's going on your end. I just got queued again. So, Paul, if I'm just talking with you, let me know. If I'm not, please, if I'm on live, please let me know so I know when to come in. again, all I have. Okay, folks. I'm really sorry. We definitely had some bugs worked out and some things are going on. So, in any case, here we are. And for those of you, I think, who have been online, there was a glitch there. There was a glitch there, and I, yes, letting you know that as far as the audio that's being worked on. Any case, if we haven't met, let me go back to where I started. My name again is Don Rollins. I serve this fine congregation as contract minister, and I'm glad to be with you. I also said earlier that I come to this time together with a heavy heart, just as many of you do. And I have tried to walk the line between honoring what's going on with us, what's going on with our nation, the effects for people across the globe, and the work before us in our shared ministry. So I've tried to walk that line. That said, I'm going to go back and start the story. If it came through on the other end, folks, we'll have to figure it out because I just don't know. In any case, here's what I wanted to show you as I did before. I'm not going to do the pictures on this, the photos, but the artwork. But I am going to let you know that's the cover, and I don't think I have to say a whole lot more about that. One Monday morning in September, Ms. Barrington rolled out a big poster with all of the president's pictures on it. Grace Campbell could not believe her eyes. Where are the girls? That's a very good question, said Ms. Barrington. The truth is, our country has never had a woman president. No girl ever? Grace asked. I'm afraid not, says Ms. Barrington. Grace sat at her desk and stewed. No girls. Who'd ever heard of such a crazy thing? And finally, she raised her hand. I've been thinking it over, and I'd like to be president. I think that's a fine star-spangled idea, Grace, said Ms. Barrington. In fact, we can have our own election right here at Woodrow Wilson Elementary. The snickering in the room stopped. Grace smiled. Would anyone else like to run for president? Ms. Barrington asked the class. Nobody raised their hand. The next day, Ms. Barrington made an announcement. In the name of democracy, I have invited Mr. Waller's class to join us in our election, and their class has nominated Thomas Cobb to be their presidential candidate. Grace's heart sank. Thomas was the school spelling bee champion. His experiments always took a blue ribbon at the science fair, and he was captain of the soccer team. Becoming president wasn't going to be so easy after all, Grace thought. Well, the teachers put the names of all 50 states and the District of Columbia into a hat, except for everyone except for Grace and Thomas got to choose a state. I'm Texas, said Anthony. I'm New Hampshire, said Rose. I'm Michigan, said Robbie. What does the number 17 mean? Each state is assigned a number of electoral votes. That number is determined by how many people live in that state, said Ms. Barrington. Each of you will be a representative for your state. And altogether, our country has 538 electoral votes, Mr. Waller explained. On election day, the candidate who receives 270 electoral votes or more wins the election. Go figure. Why 270? Asked Rose. That's more than half of the electoral votes, said Mr. Waller. Becoming president really wasn't going to be so easy, Grace thought. Grace came up with a campaign slogan, Make History, Grace Campbell for President. Thomas came up with his own campaign slogan, Vote for Thomas Cobb, the best man for the job. Grace listened to what issues were important to the students, and she made a list of campaign promises. A peaceful school, no bullies. A cleaner school, no littering. Better hot lunches, no more fish sticks, tacos. And Thomas made up his own list of promises. Free tutoring, free soccer lessons, fish stick tacos every week. Grace made campaign posters and buttons. Thomas made campaign posters and buttons too. And each week the teachers set aside time for the candidates to meet with their constituents. Polls were taken. Voters were making their choices. Grace continued to campaign. She gave speeches. During lunch, she handed out free cupcakes. And after school, she held rallies. Meanwhile, Thomas wasn't worried. He had cleverly calculated the boys held slightly more electoral votes than the girls. At recess, Tom studied his spelling words. During lunch, he worked on his latest science experiment. After school, he played soccer. Even for the election, Grace made good on her promises. She joined the safety squad. She organized the school beautification committee. She volunteered her time in the school cafeteria. So in early November, Woodrow Wilson Elementary held a special election day assembly. Grace and Thomas took their places on stage as the school began to play. Henry was the first representative to approach the microphone. The Yellowhammer state of Alabama cast its 9 electoral votes for Thomas Cobb. Fletcher said the last frontier state of Alaska cast its 3 electoral votes for the best man for the job, Thomas Cobb. Hannah called out the Grand Canyon state of Arizona cast its 10 electoral votes for Grace Campbell. And so it went. State after state cast their electoral votes. The scoreboard in the gymnasium kept track of all the totals. The voting demonstration was quickly coming to an end. Clara approached the podium. The Badger State of Wisconsin cast its 10 votes for my friend, Grace Campbell. Grace looked at the scoreboard. Thomas had 268 electoral votes. She had 267. There was only one state still accounted for, Wyoming. Thomas grinned. Grace felt sick. Sam walked up to the microphone. He looked at Thomas. He looked at Grace. He looked down at Grace's handmade flag. Sam didn't say a word. "What are you waiting for?" Thomas whispered. The band had stopped playing. All eyes were on Wyoming. And finally, Sam cleared his throat. The equality state of Wyoming cast its 3 electoral votes for Grace Campbell. The gymnasium erupted in loud cheers and, yes, a few boos. Miss Barrington approached the podium with 270 electoral votes. The winner is Grace Campbell. Thomas looked stunned. Grace hugged Sam. "Why did you do it?" she asked. Sam handed Grace his flag because, he said, because, he said, "I thought you were the best person for the job." The following week, the students in Miss Barrington's class were preparing for their career day presentations. Grace volunteered to go first. She stood at the front of the room, glanced at the poster still on the wall. That's Abe Lincoln, by the way. And she said, "My name is Grace Campbell. When I grow up, I'm going to be president of the United States." This time, nobody laughed. Everybody believed that she would. Just a story, folks, but as we say sometimes in the hills, from our lips to God's ears. May it so be. Thanks for listening.
We gather together in worship. Play piano at a concert yesterday evening. Also, Bob Beisner is heading south this week to attend Georgia Tech homecoming game with his Theta Chi brothers. Chi brothers, sorry. I wasn't in Greek. He will also visit 2 of Jeanette's sisters. Nice. Somebody else mentions hopeful about the election results and joy for Witchy Weekend this coming weekend. The same one who said hopeful about our election results also said anxious about our election results. Nettie is moving back to southern Indiana area early next year. She will miss us all. Another concern, the election. I did write that we have great concerns about this election. I am sure all of us do. Let's hold them, but not let them smother us. It's okay to share them. We are a community of hope, of help. Whatever the results are, when we are together, we are stronger. The offering we take each Sunday is an opportunity
There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river in my soul. Flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my heart. There's a river flowing in my heart. There's somebody. There's a river flowing in my heart. There's a flowing in my heart, and it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my mind.
Please join me in reading our unison affirmation. The words are in your order of service and on the screen. Love is the spirit of our faith and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. And now, once again, Reverend Don.
Hello again, you friends. It's important, I believe, that we take a little time to come to this place again. There are a lot of distractions. There is one in particular. So what I've done is put together a simple meditation, and what I'd like for you to do is to participate in it with me. I'll give you the instructions there. So let's take some quiet time together. Seriously, let's just settle in. Let's give these worried heads some time off. even if it's just for a few moments. Through the din, I invite you to feel your body right now. What does your body need right now? Mine needs to relax. My shoulders need some time off, even in this time of danger. Breathe with me. Close your eyes if that's comfortable for you. Let yourself feel worried if that's where you are. So much is up in the air. As you breathe or close your eyes, or just come to ground. Can you feel the warmth of the people around you? Can you feel the oneness we so often talk about, yet so rarely experience? Feel that oneness. It is not imaginary. Continue with me in this sacred time. And I want to give you a response as I finish each verse of what I've written. I'll read and then just repeat what are for me 3 of the most magical words I know. They are simply, we see you. Let that sink in, friends. We see you. So right now, again, because I don't have audio, we'll figure it out, but say it with me prayerfully right now. Together, we see you. Let's begin. For all who are assembled here and online, who are heavy with fear and uncertainty, say it with me, we see you. For all who have become targets for ignorance and loathing, we see you. For all who wonder where their country went, we see you. And for all who feel adrift in a sea of surrender, we see you. Hold this space with me a little bit longer. Go back to breathing. Peace in, love out. Peace in, love out. For all who still claim hope in the face of all this, we see you. For all whose resolve is already at hand, steady and strong, we see you. And for the champions for good who have been here before, we see you. And now for all who hear the sound of my voice in that room online, one more time, breathe in peace, breathe out love. Breathe in peace, breathe out love, breathe out love. Amen.
Breathe out, I'll breathe out love.
I think we just go right back to Don, Paul.
Hello again, folks. You can hear how Paul Warren and I are communicating. And just one more thing on this end. So it's been a ride. It has been a year and a half of a ride. And we're just talking about the presidency, but we're also talking about all the down ballot. So much is at stake here. It would be swell if our tradition were somehow divorced from all that happens with those in power, but that's not how we work. Praise be, that's not how we work. So, friends across the river, I want to give you a short preface for what I want to talk about today. What I want to talk about is important stuff because it has to do with your present and future. That's important. But nothing is more important than what's at stake in those 7 swing states that will affect untold millions here and abroad. I promise I won't soapbox too much about the way we choose our presidents. What I can say that one political party and their candidate have a vision for us that I believe will destroy lives and the very planet under our feet. I respect the law that says we do not endorse candidates. We absolutely do not, but we also don't be silent. So, as we go into this time together, we are scared, we are worried, you and me, and with good reason. What I say to you this morning, and excuse me, folks, allergies here in the mold belt. What I say to you this morning is this: election results will be what they will be. But will we not continue our work anyway? Would we not continue? So bigotry, oppression will still be there after the final results are tallied. Homophobia, transphobia, misogyny, classism, xenophobia, oppression, racism, all of them will keep right on thriving. It's only a matter of how much help we can expect as we go about undoing those wrongs, small and large. So, friends, let the fear come and then turn to the Buddhist teaching of focus amidst the chaos. Breathe in peace, breathe out love. You're not alone. You never were, never will be. Stay strong. Now to the matter at hand. From UU Minister Reverend Nancy MacDonald Ladd on why folks really come our way and maybe even stay, she tells us, in spite of what every congregational satisfaction survey says, we did not come here for the coffee. We come because we have a deep, aching need for an encounter with the holy that crosses our borders and expands our hearts. We come to be part of something so much larger than ourselves, and we cannot do that holy work together unless we are really willing to set aside our own need to win and reach out our hands and seek the deeper understanding that comes with difference. There are a little over 1,000 Unitarian Universalist congregations in existence. Do a quick search at uua.org/find, and you can see them all listed by region, state, and country. Each entry has the name and the location of the congregation, whether the building is wheelchair accessible, and if there are listening assistance devices. And then there's the congregation's constituent ID number given at the bottom of the listing. 4 digits that signified a particular people in a particular place. Just a few numbers on the surface, but in fact, those numbers add up to the perfectly imperfect religious clan with the crazy long name, Unitarian Universalism. I want to talk to you about one of those congregations, ID number 8321 to be exact, UU Congregation, Charleston. And let me tell you about them, but let me tell you about the people. Let me start with a story. There's an old wisdom tale about 2 horse riders traveling from and to opposite towns. As they paused to greet one another, the first rider asked, "What kind of people live there? Are they good people? Are they kind, loving? No, said the second traveler. It's a cold, uncaring town. I'm glad to be moving on. So sorry to hear that, came the answer. But take heart. The town ahead of you is a wonderful place, full of wonderful people. I'm sure you'll be happy there. When the two riders arrived at their new towns, it said the first rider found no good in the people there, and the second rider found a wonderful place full of wonderful people. Congregation 8321 is it's a place full of wonderful people. It was dreamed and built into reality by ancestors whose names may be mostly lost to us, but whose spirits hover in the room where you now sit. And yes, I'm just mystical enough to believe they hover online. Those who blaze the trail. As with those pioneers for liberal religion, the people of number 8321 have their disagreements, their strained moments, their preferred comfort zones. Mistakes happen there, assumptions miss the mark, see their current contract minister, and feelings can get hurt. There are some scars that are yet in the healing. But to quote Joe Biden, here's the thing. There is a rare and holy authenticity about the people in their wonky, wonderful home. There is an unnamed, unvoiced sense of perspective that says there are bigger things at stake than our rough patches and our irritations and our rambling committee meetings. It's not that everybody loves or even likes one another. It's that something good comes of the chemistry, the alchemy, something called authentic community, not the easy, shallow stuff, something as a ministry colleague once described as an experiment in personal disarmament. If you take nothing else today, take that phrase, congregation as experiment in personal disarmament. Why do I know all this? I know all this because for the past 3 months, I've been gifted with being their contract minister. I've seen them up close, and I know that their hearts beat true. I'm the writer who found the good place. This time last year, I was blissfully retired from the grueling work that chose me early on, interim, also known as transitional ministry. 4 decades, mostly spent in short-term gigs, is a long time, no matter the amazing people, the places, and the things. Time to call it a day. Donate the books, recycle the hard copy files, work on letting go of the grudges and the lingering regrets in my own scars. Call it a day. Enjoy not being somebody's minister. You're not young anymore. Then you, the chance to serve one more time in an Appalachian setting, this time a mere 85.6 miles from home. Why not just apply? See what's up down in Congregation 8321. 1/3 time, 1 year, renewable for a second commitment. Let's have a look. Fast forward, and here we are today, folks. The very incarnation of the same message the founders understood, and I wrote in today's meditation. We see you. Yes, we do. We see you. I believe this capacity to see deeply is the foundation of what goes on in your congregation, including the ministry your board hired me to do. To that end, the mandate for how to spend my 14 hours, give or take, each week is right there in the mission statement you adopted not all that long ago. To build a loving community, to increase justice in our neighborhood and beyond. To build a loving community, to increase justice in our neighborhood and beyond. Love and justice. With that, we see you. We see beyond you. Love, we see you. Justice, we see beyond you. That's it. Everything else in my contract is secondary. But professional segue, not unimportant. Back to holding up my end of our shared ministry, my practice with the congregations I serve is to set aside a quarterly check-in service. The idea is to reflect back on how my training and experience and research, help from colleagues, might help our lay folk and staff in this changed and still changing religious environment. In question form, what newer, better ways might I offer that congregation as they go about the things they most cherish? What follows is a pretty short nuts and bolts about what your leaders, your staff, and I are doing to advance love and justice with and for you, starting with some big picture realities. No newsflash, but religion in nearly every corner of the Western world is busy dying or reinventing itself. As with the other institutions, think about it: education, medicine, government. The facts are as they are. Transition. Those 50 and below are running from worship experiences and committee based leadership as fast as they can. The word across the literature is irrelevance. So the choice is to reinvent or play some very slim odds. Now put that one on the list that says things we don't control. Hang in, some more bad news. All this applies to the US, where adult attendance at a faith community has dropped from 42 to 30% over the last 2 decades. If the trend continues, the figure will be in the upper teens, given Gen Zs show even less interest than their millennial parents when it comes to organized religion. And do not give us a pass, we are organized. Interesting and cautionary trend on the subject. More Americans are identifying as Roman Catholic. Fewer than ever are attending Mass or receiving the sacraments. This tells us more and more folks are who they are out there, but they want nothing to do with what goes on in our congregations as constituted. Religion, Christianity in particular, as we have known it in this country since European colonization, has a very dim future. Put that one on the no control list too. The last jolt of bad news. Unitarian Universalism is more or less holding steady, but in denominations like Life, steady is some human invention. Our progressive mainline Christian siblings aren't faring quite as well, so we'll take what we can get, but there's no such thing as holding steady. Put that one on the middle list of things we kind of do, kind of don't control. You and I are precious and proud bearers of this liberal faith, but part of something bigger, namely our association. So we are one, but we are one of many. Now to the other list, the one titled Things We Control, the one about you and me in this shared ministry. First and foremost, you're all about resilience down there. Excuse me. You've recently weathered some hard times, figured out how to meet most of your own needs, and then kept on going. Take pride in all that. Do not underappreciate yourselves and one another. Take it from somebody who's been in the field a long time. Resilience is a precious commodity. You have kept going. Now I ask you, kept going to where? This next part sounds a lot like the stuff your Central East Region UU staff person, Beth Casebolt, has been saying to your leaders for some time. Is because Beth and I are looking at the same research and the same trends. So words of counsel for figuring out the where next question. I beseech ye, forget the stuff beyond your control. UUs do not get a pass on shrinking worship attendance, no matter how good the worship. That hurts. You could call Jesus himself as your next contract minister. There'd still be empty seats because of the vessel we have created over the millennia. Not the spirit, but the vessel we call in the parlance church. Your worship leader, Paul, is participating in a certification program based on current UU worship practices, which has and will continue to inform his lay ministry. By the way, Paul, I realize I misspelled your name in the text if you're reading along. Paul is getting up to speed on UU worship practices in this century. So expect some experimentation as he goes along. Same with my services as we turn the tables and look at everything we do through the experience of the first-time visitor. Explode. Do everything we do through the experience of the first-time visitor, through the experience of the person who took the time and the energy to come see us. What are they experiencing? Where are they excluded by too much habit, too many trappings, too much predictability? Do they see people who look like them up front? Next up, administration, organizational speak for how to focus a congregation's resources of money, space, talents, and time in the service of love and justice. All are necessary, all are finite. Administration at UUC is carried out by dedicated people working in an antiquated system. Power is fairly evenly distributed, meaning no one or two voices make the big calls. That's a major plus, trust me. But the demands of today's UU lay leaders are unlike any before, not hyperbole. For while we know what practices work best and most efficiently, many of our folk have not been nurtured in copying the habits of vital congregations their side. Slightly cynical sidebar, we too often recruit good souls to leadership, put them in a room or on a Zoom call, and leave them to their own resources and whatever was done by the good souls that came before. Slightly cynical, not entirely. We can do better. We can do better by our siblings who take leadership roles. At last month's board meeting, I proposed creating a task force to build on the work done before I arrived in August. With my support, the purpose is to create a simple, parentheses, deconstructed, short-term map for your congregation. The scope hasn't been determined yet, how far to go, but I've done this with a few congregations your size. And the trick is to get and stay focused on the most 2 or 3 areas, usually starting with with leadership. So this way of doing church or board work is not a fix. It's not a corporate model cluttered up with multiple lists and timelines. What it is a guided, informed introduction for how to be a more sustainable people. Then there's your justice work, another entry on the things we control list. When it comes to changing lives, yours is easily the most active small congregation I've come across in all my time. Your work isn't burdened with administrative hurdles, red tape. Quite the opposite. There is a core who respond in real time to the needs that come their way. I'm on those chats. I see you, folks, who are doing that holy work. I see you. I'm not going to spend much time here because I don't need to spend much time here. Just know that you have staff and lay folk who do some gritty work on your and our entire tradition's behalf. So look here. I could go on about how to strengthen what's already in place. I could go on about what needs some rethinking. It's what I do. But I have bored your in-person and online visitors long enough. So here's a note to the it's a total sidebar, by the way, for the people who will be setting up a mic for your involvement. This is kind of your cue as I begin to wind down. So let me wind down with a few random observations and, of course, a closing story. Random observation one: your music, your office administration, your spiritual, also known as pastoral care, are excellent. Random observation two: your finances are in order for now, but nothing I know about small congregations tells me money will be everything I know about congregations will tell me money will be an issue before too long. Random observation three: were Martians to come kidnap a select 10 or so of your most active friends, members, staff, I think you'd be in deep trouble. And that's a roundabout but loving way of saying, I worry about what happens as those good folk inevitably leave their roles. The task force and I can create a leadership pipeline, but those megatrends I mentioned earlier are not abstract. They're not to be set aside for another set of leaders to address. This is your and my watch. So please keep sustainability in mind as we go about the rest of our shared ministry. As I've counseled numerous congregations, get past the tyranny of the now and think about what's coming ahead. So believe it or not, friends across the river, I have shaved down this message several times. As I said, career interim ministers love talking systems theory, best practices, adaptive leadership, deconstructed worship. The list goes on. This is what we do. This is our passion. This is what we're experts, I dare use the word, about. And we get excited when a congregation cracks open to the possibilities and the new identities, when things like love and justice are placed at the center, not at the edge. We do happy dances. But whatever you take from all this morning, know that I'm glad to know you. I am glad to serve you. I am glad that you're doing such good ministry here in my beloved Appalachia. Quick story about why we do what we do. The origins go back several hundred years, I think, and it appears in both Jewish and Buddhist literature. Here's the version of the story I know best. One day, a child, Honi, saw an old man digging a hole in the earth. Honi asked the man, "Must you do such heavy work at your age? Have you no one to help you?" The man kept digging. "This work I must do myself." Honi asked, "How old are you?" "I'm 70 years and 7, answered the man. "What are you planting?" "I am planting a breadfruit tree," was the answer, "and the fruit of this tree can be made into bread." "And when will your tree bear fruit?" asked Honi. "I'm 70 years and 7. "Then surely you won't live that long," said Honi. "No," said the old man, "I will not live that long, but I must plant this tree. When I came into this world, there were trees here for me. It is my duty to make sure that when I leave, there will be trees here also. There will be trees here also." Friends, I'm aware of time. I'm also aware that we're going to open up the microphone for those of you who'd like to speak to some of what I've said. Again, because of the limitations, I will not hear you in real time. So I would really like to be able to respond, but that's where it is. It's more important that you be able to talk a little bit if that's what you want to do. And please, this is not put upon you. If what you want to do is to be able to move into time together after the service, it's okay. But this was promised. I want to keep that promise. So here's how it could work. If you'd like to speak, if you'd raise your hand, and Paul's going to help me out here. Thank you, Paul, to recognize you. And if you'd like to come forward to the microphone, please do that. If you have trouble with mobility, then I guess we're going to have to kind of wing this, Paul, and maybe go to the person and just kind of take mental notes and come back and restate them. So again, do what you'd like with this time. If you're going to do it, please stay seated until it's your time and keep everything short. Again, I won't be able to see you. So I'll be moving now. I'll be delayed, but I'll also be in line to be able to watch what comes next. So this is my part of the service, folks. Thank you so much for listening, and I'm going to move online. Other online.
Come up. I don't. Comments would be fine too. I suggested calling him and on my phone so he could hear the questions, just do the double mic thing, but which we could do. Are there questions, comments? Come up to the mic, please, so the world can see you, Deborah.
The world has seen me for 71 years.
We've also got this.
Right, I'll bring it out if I need it. Thank you, Manny.
Hello. Does that work?
Yep.
Okay. This is home for me. I walked in 10 years ago, 11 years ago, something like that, and immediately felt at home. And it was because of the connection that everybody showed. I didn't learn people's names for a long time, except for the people like Sam and Betsy that I had known for 40 years or something along that. I'm excited about the ways that we're changing because I think having the literal, all the formal kinds of things that we've had for a long time haven't necessarily worked because there have been too few people to spread it all around and to do it well. What I am concerned about and what I need more of is communication among all the different groups and all the different issues that are going on. I would really like to know what Spiralman's doing. I'd really like to know where Kaleidoscope's at. I'd really like to know what the social justice group is doing. And so for me, some form of intra-communication would be useful. Make sense? Okay.
There might be a concept for that, Deborah. SOAR has a super secret squirrel text thing, Signal is what it's called, and for the monthly mutual aid meeting, there are probably 24 groups that all communicate with each other on one little platform. And I wonder if we couldn't set that same kind of thing up for UUC, and then people would get it as text. I think I'll talk to our cohort about that. Anyone else? Go. Okay.
I am grateful because every time I come here to worship, I always get a very, very warm greeting.
That is very grateful. I feel very grateful to be living.
because of that, I feel very grateful to receive it.
Thank you very, very much for the warm greeting.
And I do thank you very, very much for that warm greeting.
That's all I'm going to say.
And that's all I'm going to say.
But I hope to be back sometime.
And I hope to be back sometime.
That's all I'm going to say.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. Come on up.
Three things from what Reverend Don, I should say, said that I wanted to react to. One, saying that we are, in all of his experience, the most socially active congregation is really exciting to me. I've always wondered, how are we, are we A, B, C, D? What's our grade? But I guess we're an A+. The other thing, I think there was a comment, and maybe I didn't quite understand it, about people under 50 being involved in the congregation. He wasn't speaking about us specifically, but generally. And I'm thinking, if you're relying on people under 50, you're in trouble, because they are the people who are most involved in raising families and their jobs, and the amount of, not to say they are not involved, but it's often the people that are retiring that are likely to be more active in our congregations. And I think that's true here, and I think it is true. If you take 10 of the most involved people out of the congregation, we're in trouble. So we need younger people to get more involved. I'm not saying dedicate your life, but get more involved. And the last thing is, coffee may not be important, but that important, but it is important, and we happen to have coffee and snacks after service.
I think that's it. Now, I will invite you to rise again in body, voice, or spirit for our song for parting. It is number 1053 in the Teal Hymnal. How could anyone We close this time together with these thoughts from author and feminist Starhawk. It's entitled Homecoming. We are all longing to go home to some place we have never been, a place half remembered and half envisioned, we can only catch glimpses of from time to time. Community. Somewhere, there are people to whom we can speak with passion without having the words catch in our throats. Somewhere, a circle of hands will open to receive us, eyes will light up as we enter, voices will celebrate with us whenever we come into our own power. Community means strength that joins our strength to do the work that needs to be done. Arms to hold us when we falter, a circle of healing, a circle of friends, some place where we can be free. Please be seated for the postlude. Jamie?